In a world where people are judged by what they own, the rich are treated like gods. Fancy cars, flashy jewelry, expensive clothes, and exclusive parties are all part of the daily show. In the middle of all this is Laura Palmer, a successful woman in the film industry who knows how to play the game. She spends most of her time sitting through endless pitch meetings where writers throw around big ideas that rarely go anywhere. Most of the scripts are boring, but she smiles, nods, and pretends to care. At one of these events, Laura is approached by her estranged husband, Tony. He's a screenwriter too, but these days he's struggling due to alcohol addiction. Tony's script starts off like any other, but as he speaks, Laura realizes it's actually about them. He mentions their messy past and the breakdown of their marriage. It is evident that Tony is still dealing with depression and trying to stay clean from alcohol. He asks Laura if she remembered their daughter Anna's birthday. Laura lies and says yes, but the truth is she forgot. So, the moment the meeting ends, Laura tells her assistant, Christian, to get a cake for Anna. Shortly after, a woman named Alba shows up. She is none other than Laura's rival, who is sharp, confident, and always ready to compete. She casually mentions that billionaire Snail has landed nearby in his private jet. He's about to pick someone for a major new project, and Alba's sure she's the one. Laura plays it cool but immediately makes her way to the reception, where press and guests are everywhere. She finds Snail's son, Sebastian, and tries to get information out of him. But instead of helping, he mocks her for wearing an old watch, and talks about how rich people keep dying lately, including 2 major billionaires. While ranting about the behavior of powerful old men, he accidentally lets slip that Alba has already been chosen for Snail's project. The news hits hard, but Laura is forced to smile for the cameras. She then returns to the party and acts like nothing happened. When she finally gets a quiet moment with Alba, Laura puts on a smile and offers congratulations, saying that if someone had to get the job, she's glad it was her. In response, Alba says that women should support each other in this industry. She tries to keep things friendly, and Laura does the same. That night, Alba has to present a film at a big event but admits she hasn't watched it. Laura offers to help and gives her a quick summary of the film. However, when Alba repeats it in front of the crowd, she completely embarrasses herself as it turns out to be the wrong story. Laura watches it go down from afar, satisfied with her revenge. In the next scene, Laura gets in the car with Christian, and she soon gets a call from Tony, who is stuck at the airport. There's chaos in the background, and he reveals that for some reason, an overwhelming number of people have booked their flights today. He tries to say more, but the call unexpectedly ends. Christian then checks the news and learns that the Pope has died, marking the 3rd major figure to die in just a few days. Soon after, Laura is shockingly told that Alba has been dropped from Snail's project. The billionaire has now decided to offer the position to Laura instead. Seeing the opportunity, she calls Tony again and asks him to cover for her at Anna's birthday. Following this, Laura heads straight to the airport where she is allowed to board Snail's private jet. But Christian is turned away, as the invitation was only for her. Once on board, Laura talks to another guest who casually mentions another billionaire's sudden death. She is concerned by the news but becomes even more worried when she notices that the man's teeth are glowing. Later during the flight, Laura video calls Tony and Anna in an attempt to celebrate the birthday remotely. The 2 parents try their best to put aside their differences to cheer their daughter up. However, Anna is clearly upset by the situation and hangs up without even blowing her candles. As the plane begins to land, Laura looks out the window expecting to see a large city, but instead she sees snow-covered land stretching for miles. It turns out they've landed in Alaska. While the other guests are picked up in cars, Laura is taken by a man with a dog sled. He takes her phone, hands her a fur coat, and starts the journey through the frozen landscape. Along the way, he talks about Snail's business plans, how aggressively the company is expanding, and how new employees are being offered high salaries and full benefits. Laura listens quietly as the sled moves through the snow. In the distance behind them, the private jet blows up, but no one hears it due to the snowstorm. When Laura reaches the settlement, she's taken straight to a gathering where Snail welcomes all the new arrivals. He talks about Alaska's first settlers and says this place was built not only to honor them, but also to serve as a safe zone from everything happening in the outside world. What stands out to Laura isn't just the remote location or the ceremony, it's the way Snail speaks with certainty about the growing crisis. He already knows that several of the world's wealthiest people, including the Pope, have died in the past 24 hours. While the media blames it on an epidemic, Snail doesn't believe that. He thinks it's a targeted attack against the global elite. Despite his own fortune, Snail doesn't act like a typical billionaire. He's known for donating massive amounts to humanitarian causes, and even claims to have rescued thousands from slavery, offering them jobs in his gold mines. Now, with the world on edge, he reveals a larger plan. He wants to launch multiple companies focused on public good, energy, infrastructure, education, and more. Everyone here has been chosen to lead one of these divisions. He tells them their goal is to prove that wealth can be used to help society, not just preserve personal comfort. One attendee, Mr. E, questions whether any of this can work without focusing on profit. Snail responds calmly, saying his main company will fund these efforts and that there are still people out there willing to invest billions into helping others. Later that night, Laura steps outside to have a smoke, and Snail joins her. He tells her that he intentionally rejected Sebastian's push to bring in Alba. After reviewing their records, he found Laura's leadership far more solid and practical. He's disappointed in Sebastian's obsession with showing off wealth just for the image. Snail also says he wants Laura to take over Sebastian's company and gives her a book with a message he wants shared around the world. A message that not all rich people are selfish or corrupt. The next morning, Laura boards a helicopter with Mr. E. Both have been given copies of Snail's book. Mr. E says he's being sent to inspect refugee camps in Sicily, then makes an inappropriate joke that leaves Laura uncomfortable. During the flight, she tries calling Anna multiple times, but to no avail. Laura then checks her phone and sees new reports about terrorist threats and mysterious deaths tied to luxury goods. Words like plutophobia are trending everywhere, which means hatred towards the rich. When she arrives in London, the streets are in chaos. People are panicking. But Christian picks her up and brushes it off as media exaggeration. As they crawl through the traffic, Laura wonders whether people see her as part of the problem now. She's wealthy, but compared to billionaires, she still feels very poor. Despite the tension, the auction at Buckingham Palace is still being held. It's a charity event to raise money for disaster relief. Laura attends and places a huge bid of $5 million, which shocks the entire crowd. It turns out Snail had told her to spend big for the right reasons, and this feels like the right moment. As she seals the deal, she feels a little relief, thinking the money might actually help someone. Just then, Anna calls and Laura steps out to take it. The signal is bad, and her daughter's voice cuts in and out. While trying to stay focused on the call, Laura notices a man nearby with teeth so white they seem to glow. Before she can say anything, loud shouting erupts from the next room. She runs back in and sees a royal member on the floor, shaking uncontrollably before collapsing dead. In the days that follow, the world spirals into panic. News outlets are flooded with reports about a strange flu that seems to only affect the ultra-wealthy. Some call it a virus, others say it's a series of coordinated attacks by aliens. Online, the theories multiply: poisoned luxury items, bioengineered revenge, and even curses. It is also confirmed that glowing teeth is one of the symptoms of the virus. As public fear turns into anger, they begin openly celebrating the deaths of billionaires and world leaders. Protests erupt in major cities and wealth is no longer admired. It is rather seen as a threat. Meanwhile, Laura and Christian are once again on the move, through the chaotic streets of London. The assistant is surprisingly calm and says the government should round up all the billionaires in one place to avoid another global lockdown. Shortly after, Laura gets a call from her mother, who tells her that Anna is now with her in Barcelona. Desperate to leave, Laura goes to Snail's London office, but everything there is falling apart. Employees are wearing masks, phones are ringing non-stop, and tension is everywhere. Inside the executive suite, she finds Sebastian mid-meltdown. He's furious that his father gave Laura the company. He rants about betrayal and screams that he was the rightful heir. While he's yelling, Laura notices the same thing she saw on the plane days ago. Sebastian's teeth are glowing. Later, she asks Christian to get her a flight to Barcelona. He tells her that all air travel has been shut down and the government has declared a state of emergency. But Laura doesn't care. She tells him to find a private jet or a helicopter as she's desperate to meet her daughter. As soon as Laura steps outside, she sees the street surrounded by angry protesters. Armed soldiers are holding the line, trying to keep the crowd from storming the building. Without saying a word, she slips into the back of a company car and shuts the door behind her. Trying to distract herself, Laura pulls out her phone and calls her broker. He tells her that with the market in chaos and major assets collapsing, her portfolio has exploded in value. Technically, she's richer than ever and maybe even a billionaire. This worries Laura and she asks him to sell everything, but he reveals that it's not possible. The financial markets are frozen, so no trades are being processed at the time being. Her only options are to spend the money or give it away as charity. Upon hearing the call, the driver realizes that she's rich, so he quietly reaches for a face mask and puts it on. Later, she reaches her apartment and starts packing her stuff. She pauses for a while and checks her teeth in the mirror. Laura doesn't see anything unusual, but she can't shake the fear that it's only a matter of time. Suddenly, there's a knock at the door. 3 soldiers stand outside, saying she's been selected for protective transport. They say she'll be taken to a secure location, and it's for her own safety. Laura pretends to oblige, but when she walks back to grab her bag, she slips out through the fire escape. She then gets into her car and immediately drives away from there. After traveling for a while, Laura finds the roads blocked, so she ditches her car and continues on foot. Eventually, she meets Christian at a side gate near an old airstrip. The crowd has already gathered, mostly other wealthy people who are desperate to leave. It turns out Christian has managed to secure her a spot on a small private plane. As they wait to board, Laura asks him to hold her assets until the chaos settles. She frames it like a divorce move, saying Tony might try to take everything. But Christian understands what she's really doing. She's trying to pass off her fortune before something worse happens. Hence, he flat out refuses her offer and walks away from there, leaving her devastated. Once the plane lifts off, the mood on board is tense. Laura tries to distract herself and calls Tony to let him know she's on her way to Barcelona. He tells her he's already at her mother's place, which surprises her, but before she can respond, the call drops due to bad signal. Inside the cabin, a few nervous passengers start talking about the whole situation. The discussion quickly turns into a loud argument about where the plane is really going and whether they're even safe. Things spiral out of hand when they notice that a man's teeth are glowing. Passengers start yelling, calling him infected, and demand that he be removed. Some try to confront him physically, and in the chaos, the man fights back. They push and shove until two of them hit a control panel near the emergency door. It unlatches, and a rush of wind fills the cabin. People are screaming, holding onto seats as the glowing man and another passenger are thrown toward the open door. One passenger takes the opportunity to kick them both out, finally bringing the chaos to an end. When the plane lands in Spain, Laura slips away from the airport without speaking to anyone. The situation isn't any better here as the police are patrolling every major road. Laura then finds a quiet place to sit and checks her phone. News reports confirm that the disease is now being called the rich flu. Online posts also talk about billionaires burning their assets in an attempt to stop the spread. Laura then searches Snail's name and finds article after article stating that he has disappeared. His companies have been shut down, his assets liquidated, and his name wiped from every current business list. Desperate for answers, she pulls out the book he gave her and flips through it. One quote catches her eye: "A person is only rich until they no longer need to be." Laura stares at it for a while, and finally realizes that Snail had actually duped all of them by pretending to offer them shares. In reality, he simply gave them large salaries to make himself less richer. In the next scene, Tony picks her up and they drive through narrow roads into the countryside. As they approach a checkpoint, Laura begins to worry about her bag, which is filled with jewelry and whatever cash she managed to keep. But Tony tells her to stay calm and hides the bag under the seat. When officers come over, a truck suddenly crashes into the barricade, drawing all attention away. Tony takes this opportunity to hit the gas and speeds off before anyone stops them. Soon enough, they make it to a small mountain town where Laura's mom, Marta, lives. It seems peaceful at first, but anti-rich slogans are painted across buildings and walls. Laura then spots her daughter in the distance, laughing with a group of teenagers. She's wearing a shirt that mocks the rich, making Laura angry. Later, she joins a communal dinner with the locals, but no one talks to her. People glance at her watch, the same one she bought with her first paycheck, and murmur quietly. One man comments that the virus is moving down the wealth ladder and wonders when it will reach her. That night, Laura admits everything to Tony. She tells him how much money she has and how she tried to shift her assets to Christian. She also confesses that she keeps checking her teeth, afraid they might start glowing. Tony listens without judgment. But before they can talk more, a local man knocks on the door and warns them that the people in town are planning to force Laura out. Marta and Tony argue with him, saying it's unfair, but the crowd is already gathering outside. With no time to waste, they pack up and leave. A local guy offers them his boat, and Marta suggests heading to Tanzania where an old friend lives off the grid and might take them in. They leave during the night and the journey is extremely slow. The group survives by fishing, collecting rainwater, and avoiding large shipping routes. They pass other boats filled with people trying to escape the same fate, some still dressed in expensive clothes, clueless about where they're going. Laura watches them and realizes none of them expected this. They had money, but no plan. One night, the group hears a voice calling from the water. Upon checking, they find a woman floating on a piece of wood, so they immediately pull her aboard and care for her. Once the woman regains consciousness, she reveals that her name is Yolan and that she ended up in the sea after fleeing her refugee camp. The next day, a Libyan military ship suddenly approaches. The soldiers board and immediately detain everyone for transporting a foreign refugee. They tie the boat to theirs and say they will be taken to a processing site. In the morning, the soldiers stop near a remote island and order them to jump into the water and swim. When they try to refuse, they are pushed out forcibly, but they somehow swim toward the nearest beach. They arrive soaked and exhausted, but alive. At the edge of the shore stands a memorial honoring migrants who lost their lives at sea. The family barely has time to take it in before moving inland in search of shelter. They soon find a refugee camp not far from the coast. The place is chaotic as a massive crowd surrounds an army truck trying to distribute food. People shove and scream, desperate to grab whatever they can. Yolun pushes her way into the chaos and comes back with food and water, which she shares with the family. Later, doctors arrive and perform health checks on everyone. Once cleared, the refugees are split into groups. Yolun is taken to the African tents, while Laura and her family are sent to the section for Europeans. A soldier tells them that Africa has closed its borders and is only helping its own citizens. When Laura tries to explain that she's donated large amounts of money to African charities, the soldier cuts her off and says none of that matters now. While looking around the camp, Laura unexpectedly sees Mr. E sitting alone. She approaches him and asks about Snail. He tells her that poor countries are doing fine while Europe is in ruins. He says the wealthy world is collapsing and advises her to stay hidden until dawn. Then, he removes his mask and reveals his glowing teeth, which means he has been infected as well. That night, the family leaves the main camp and hides beneath old debris with Yolun. Laura takes this opportunity to apologize to Tony for how distant she's been, but he doesn't respond, making her realize that something's wrong. Tony then opens his mouth and reveals that he's been infected as well. He explains that when Christian refused to take her assets, he did it himself. That made him wealthy on paper, and now he has the virus. Tony urges her to take care of their daughter, while a distraught Laura breaks down in tears. Before they can continue, two men appear from the shadows and strike Marta to the ground. They then grab Anna and try to escape, but the parents give chase. Tony tackles one of the men to the ground and beats him, but he gets stabbed in the process. Witnessing this, a horrified Laura grabs a rock and slams it against the man's head. She then attacks the second one, landing blow after blow until he stops moving. Unfortunately, Tony also succumbs to his injuries, leaving her devastated. The next morning, the family returns to the camp. What was once a crowded mess is now a destroyed site. The tents are in ruins, the supplies are gone, and only a few survivors remain. With nowhere else to go, they work with the others to build a boat from whatever materials they can find. After several days of hard work, the boat is ready and they set sail again, hoping to find safety on the mainland. After sailing for several days, they finally spot land on the horizon. But just as hope returns, a patrol ship appears and slams into their vessel, tearing it apart. People scream as they fall into the sea. Laura holds onto a piece of wood and calls out Anna's name, but the ocean drowns her voice. She eventually washes up on shore, half conscious. Locals find her and help her stand, but they don't speak her language. Before she can even thank them, soldiers begin arriving, searching the area. Laura runs through a nearby tunnel and hides in an abandoned building. In one of the rooms, she finds an old woman who says nothing but hands her some local clothes. Laura changes into them, and the soldiers pass by without noticing her. Later, she returns to the beach and finds a group of locals rescuing survivors. Anna and Yolun are among them, but Marta didn't survive. All the refugees are loaded onto a truck, packed together without space to sit. They travel for days without knowing where they're going. When the truck finally stops, they're told to keep walking. With no other option, they continue on foot until they reach a remote beach where a small village is being built from scratch. At the entrance, the rules are made clear. Everyone must surrender whatever they still own. Personal belongings are collected in a large bowl to be shared by the community. Laura looks at her watch, the one thing she's kept with her since the beginning, and drops it into the pile. Life in the village is hard but organized. Laura, Anna, and Yolun work alongside others to grow food, carry supplies, and maintain the huts. It's a life without luxury, but at least it's stable. One night, while walking through the camp, Laura sees another woman wearing her watch. Desperate to have it back, she offers the woman a few polished shells in exchange, and the latter complies. Laura is over the moon to get her watch back, but as she smiles, we notice her teeth getting whiter, indicating that she has been infected.